Communication is critical to ensure that you are able to get the message across. A leader has to have a vision, but they've got to be able to clearly and succinctly relate that vision or relay it in a way that their employees and their staff and their team can connect truly with that vision. And connection goes into the leadership principle.
Welcome to Becoming Wiser with Dr. Robert A. Rome. For more information or products by Dr. Rome, please visit personalityinsights.com. Use coupon code podcast10 to receive 10% off eligible products and personality assessments. Thank you for joining us today. And now, Dr. Robert A. Rome.
Every once in a while, you meet somebody and you just think to yourself, well, that was different. They just seem to be so upbeat and so encouraging. They just seem to look for the good, the pure, and the positive. I mean, usually you only have to talk to somebody a couple of minutes before you find out their whole history of everything that's gone wrong. But then you find somebody that you really are attracted to because they like to tell you what's going right. Our guests today are going to be people who are just like that I met at one of our trainings many years ago.
Welcome to Becoming Wiser with Dr. Robert A. Rome, author and world-renowned public speaker, as he shares stories involving his experiences and lessons learned in a good-spirited, positive, and fun way. Here's Dr. Robert A. Rome.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Rome, and today I have two of my favorite people, very special guests on this week's podcast, Chris and Melissa Rollins. Chris and Melissa came to Personality Insights many years ago, attended a training, and we just hit it off at the very beginning, watching them work together and listening to their story and how they affected lives in their own personal business. And then when they added the DISC model of human behavior to that, the repertoire of what they were offering, their business just continued to flourish. So we asked them if they would come on the podcast today and share a little bit about their business model. They're going to be sharing with you something they call the 3C concepts. You're going to learn some great information that I have found to be extremely helpful. Chris, Melissa, welcome to the podcast today.
Welcome. Good to see you today, Dr. Rome.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So what year was it that you came to training, and where has things taken you since that time?
Wow.
2013. I remember that one. Absolutely. It's interesting, Dr. Rome, when we think about meeting with you there in 2013, we go back. I often share with people that I was first introduced to a model of human behavior in 1999. It was in the corporate space. I had only been removed for a few short years out of the military at that point in time. And unfortunately, the model was kind of taught where I saw myself, I understood myself, I saw everyone else and thought, why the heck are they here? It was not the best presentation. I'm not going to say the model was bad, but it was not the best presentation. And through the years, I went through a number of different trainings and different types of models, even DISC on several occasions. Melissa remembers very well when we first came in and connected with you in 2013, I often confess my initial reaction was, but I've done DISC before. I said that. And it was one of those things where we came in and really saw it presented in a way that we had never seen it presented before. It was presented in a positive light. It was presented where you were not looking to celebrate one style while putting down any of the others. Everyone in the room was affirmed. Everyone felt celebrated. And you truly were able to recognize and see the superpower that every single person in the room brought to the table. It was like creating the Avengers. You had the entire team to accomplish something that no one individual could. And it just stuck with us. And we fell in love with the model because we understand that you can't truly focus on finding out what's wrong with anyone until you first find out what's right with them. And then when you find out what's right with them, you don't even care about the other anymore because you begin to build on what's right. It's so powerful in that process.
Melissa, what were your first thoughts as you began to evaluate all that? That's 10 years ago. Seemed like 10 minutes ago, doesn't it?
It really, really does. I don't know. It was, when I first came in, I was like, okay, so what is this really about? I didn't really understand a lot. The only thing I had been introduced to, I guess you could say, as far as personalities, were in a church when we did the animals. So it was a very surface level of introduction to it. But when we started going through the curriculum and the teaching of DISC, like Chris said, I absolutely loved the positivity that was there. There was no, oh, well, you got the short end of the stick, and you're this type, style. Everybody was celebrated, and there was so much talk about the positives and in each thing. I got to understand myself where I really didn't understand for years. And now it's like, oh, okay, well, that's just how I'm wired. And okay, that's great. Now I understand it. So it's been for me completely life changing. So
Well, that's so great. All of us are on a journey, and I know that we communicate the message that even though we are primarily one or two, or sometimes even
Mhm.
three personality strong, there's always going to be one, perhaps, or two or three that need a little bit of work. My high I personality got me through kindergarten. I was the master of ceremonies at my 5-year-old kindergarten. My stars, that was like 70 years ago. And no one ever shared with me, Melissa, what you were just talking about. If somebody had said, "Hey, Robert, let me draw this circle and explain to you this D, I, S, and C and show you this area that you don't know a lot about. It's over here in C area, and it has to do with thinking and listening and staying in your seat and studying and cooperating." That would have been really helpful. So anyway, I know both of y'all are master trainers. You do such a great job. Tell me a little bit about your business.
We founded Rollins Performance Group back in 2012, and that was after I left the corporate environment. I spent 16 years in the corporate space after I had left the military. And we did that to truly help focus and work with leadership and sales teams to help them achieve high levels of sustainable success. It's really been the passion of everything that we focused on ever since then. So when we connected with you in 2013 and really added in the workings of the DISC model of human behavior, it helped us develop what we use today in our 3C model, because I felt like there was something missing. And that was the third leg to the stool that we needed to be able to truly develop the model that we created.
Tell us a little bit about. I've mentioned the three C's. You've mentioned them. I know people are anxious to listen to this podcast. We have a group that's a lot like us. We're personal growth and development junkies. We're always looking for new ways to learn and grow. Share the audience today what that's all about.
well, the 3C model is a 3 C's of high performance. What that is the C's stand for communicate, connect, and convert. What we want people to know when we're coming in and we're helping to train them in the usually the corporate world, not necessarily always, is uh, connection. But we want to make sure that you're having effective communication. Connect, this is where we're coming in and we're wanting to make strong
Mhm.
leaders to where they can connect with their people. And then we have convert. This is something we had actually talking before we actually
Mhm.
even came on the podcast was ethical selling, because we don't want to be that person that's coming in and teaching anyone manipulation or anything like that. We want your sales training to be ethical. So that is something we really focus on that.
Yes. And before I go too deep into that, let me explain what really started the core of the foundation when I mentioned that the model of human behavior was that missing leg or that missing part of that stool. And it really comes from the phrase that Dr. Rome, you may be familiar with, omne trium perfectum. It's Latin for the rule of three. Psychology teaches us that the brain is wired to look for things in patterns. We look at three, and it's interesting because it has greater impact and grading sticking power in the brain. Three is the lowest number that we can actually achieve a pattern. So we're wired to see things in threes. It's the reason every one of us stops at a stoplight and it's green, yellow, and red. Interestingly enough, even when we come to something like a four-way stop, when someone says, oh, wait a minute, Chris, there's four, not three. You're moving in one direction. When you come to the stop sign, you have three choices: left, right, or straight.
Okay.
Everything works that way. In scripture, we're taught that three stands for wholeness or completeness or perfection. We understand that we are comprised of a body, soul, and a spirit. We see God in his fullness as Father, Son, and Spirit. Even in science, we would look at this and say there are three states of matter: gas, liquids, or solids. Everything begins to operate and work in threes. So when we really began to understand that concept, we were able to say, wait, we've got to ensure that when we're working with our market that we primarily work with in the corporate space and or the nonprofit and faith-based communities, when we're working with people that want to develop high levels of sustainable growth,
Right.
we have to focus on the three legs of the stool. I often like to use the analogy of a stool and say, I'm going to give you three legs. One is communicate, one is connect, one is convert, as Melissa just talked about. And if you think any one of these are not important, allow me to take one leg away. Feel free to sit on the stool.
Throw that out.
It's not going to go over well. You're going to fall. Now, interestingly enough, for what we do, we look at it as the core competencies that we have to address and deal with. Communication, the foundation principle of everything we do. And Dr. Rome, I know you know very clearly that, communication is far different from just presenting. I know a lot of good presenters that are poor communicators.
Right.
Presentation skills matter. Absolutely. But being a good presenter does not naturally make you a good communicator. Learning to speak someone else's language makes you a good communicator. And even in the DISC temperament model, when we say it's a 4 temperament model of human behavior, you say, Chris, how does that apply to the rule of 3? Simple. Just like you said, Dr. Rome, we have our own highest quadrant, if you will, which is our strength zone.
Right.
We speak that language naturally. It's the other 3 we have to work on, whether it's our second highest, third, or our lowest. Those are the 3 where we will find the most success when we focus on learning to communicate to each one so that we speak their language. If you walk into a room of people that only speak Spanish, you can speak loud, you can speak fast,
You can speak slow.
you can speak right, you can be emphatic. It doesn't matter. They don't understand
Nope.
unless you speak their language. And interestingly enough, I learned that, Melissa, I know you know the story.
yeah.
I've shared enough from my oldest, who's in his late 20s today, but when he was 5, and I totally failed to relate with him. He is a polar opposite personality style of where I am, and learning to communicate effectively to him helped me in so many areas. It helped us in our relationship, and
Absolutely.
we've been married going on 33 years as of the time of this recording. And thinking of our relationship with our children, our relationship with our business clients, and everything else we do. So communication is critical to ensure that you are able to get the message across. A leader has to have a vision, but they've got to be able to clearly and succinctly relate that vision or relay it in a way that their employees and their staff and their team can connect truly with that vision. And connection goes into the leadership principle.
Well, it's like I've always said, um, with you, I mean, you're high D. But I think it goes for all the communication
Mhm.
styles. It's not always what you
Right.
say, it's how you say it. That
Mhm.
when you're communicating with someone that's a different communication style than you have to be mindful of that.
Oh, no doubt about it. And so when we think about connecting and we think about leading to that, Melissa, about how we say it, it's that thing where a leader has to come in and say, in order for me to take my organization to the next level, I often challenge leaders to ensure that their vision is bigger than themselves.
Right.
Because true leadership is about more. In fact, true leadership is not about you as the leader.
Exactly.
If it's about you, you're a producer.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. That's right. True leadership is about other people. The best leaders never see their vision fully come to pass. That's why in the Bible, I often use the reference of, I think they're about Moses, and I think about, when he handed things over to Joshua. Moses never stepped foot into the promised land, but he was the greater leader because he developed the next generation of leader to follow him. I'll often ask people who followed Joshua. I don't know. Of course not. Joshua was an amazing producer, but we don't know who followed Joshua. Israel went into a bad season. So the leaders are really the ones where they are able to help the organization expand and grow and carry on. If the organization dies because the leader left,
Then
they
they didn't
weren't a
develop
strong, right.
anybody.
They
Yeah.
weren't a
Yeah.
strong leader at that point. And and then last I would say is conversion. When Melissa, you talked about ethical selling, where I think that's so important. There's no doubt when we bring up selling, especially to entrepreneurs,
Yes.
when we see that, so many of them struggle with that
Well,
because
some of them, they did cringe. You can see it in their
I don't want to
body
be
language.
salesy.
Yeah.
Right. But hey, if you don't have revenue, you don't have a business. It's a
Exactly.
really expensive hobby. So you've got to be able to sell and sell effectively and embrace the fact that selling is a part of the process. In fact, ethical selling is one of the greatest things we can ever do on this planet. Ethical selling is not what we do to someone, it's what we do for them. When
Right.
we use coercion, when we use manipulation, we're doing it to them.
Well, we're doing it for ourselves.
Ultimately, it's only
Yeah.
serving us,
Yeah.
right? When we think about what selling is at its core, most basic concept, I often say, I know the Chris Rollins version, if you will, of selling is I say it's simply bringing someone to the point of taking action on an informed decision. The greatest salesperson that ever walked the planet had an amazing pitch. Follow me. He changed the world, by the way, with that, because it brought people to the point of taking action on an informed decision. Did he sell everyone? Did he successfully sell everyone? No. But he did change the world because he brought people to the point of doing that.
Right.
That's such a powerful message that y'all have. And you not only communicate it well, I know both of you well enough to know you live it. And you can't export products you don't produce.
Right.
And I know that y'all actually produce a heart full of love and compassion and guidance for those people that you do training with. I wanted to just touch on Melissa. You triggered a thought in my mind where you talked about how important it was the way we say things. My wife April
Mhm.
and I were in Cancun uh, years ago, and we saw an elderly couple dancing, and they were just dancing and strolling around the dance floor, and we got up and started dancing beside them. And honestly, they looked like they were in their 80s or 90s. They were, but they were still just. I told April, I said, they're on their honeymoon, and she said, they're celebrating something. They were so happy. So anyway, when the music died down, they sat down. We went and sat down beside them. And April said, "Are y'all on your honeymoon?" They said, "No, we're celebrating 70 years of marriage." And
Wow.
we said, 70 years? I said, "I've never known anybody to be married 70 years." So April said, "What is the secret to a long, successful marriage?" Without batting an eye, without hesitating for a moment, he leaned forward. He looked at April. He said, "Tone."
Mm,
Awesome.
that's good.
I thought it doesn't get any better than this. Tone. Tone is
Wow.
how you say. It's how you say everything. Well, I know that we're in the business of selling. Part of that is we want to be successful, but we don't want to do it at someone's expense. We want to do
Right.
it at some encouragement. We want to help people make an informed decision. I believe, Zig Ziglar was one of my mentors and one of my heroes. And Zig used to say, uh, unsuc- unsuccessful salesmen have skinny children. And so, you've got to sell something to make a living. I remember the first time I ever heard the saying, nothing happens until something is sold.
Mhm.
So, so tell me, as we start to wind this down a little bit, how do you balance the whole idea of teaching people relationship selling? I think everything centers around. We all know that we do business with people we like. We
Mhm.
interact with people we like. How does someone listening today and they say, "How do I learn how to build relationship selling?" What would you tell them?
Well, Dr. Roma, that's a great question. I think the first thing that I would tell someone is keep in mind when we're selling, when we talk about ethical selling, we feel good about it because ultimately what it is we're selling someone helps them. To Melissa made the point, if what we're selling to someone only serves us, we don't deserve that sell.
Nope.
We're comfortable in relationship selling and understanding that not every person is our prospect. Not every person is going to be our customer. I see that so often where people get it wrong, where they're trying to sell their friends and family on everything. If we do it right, the beauty is that while not everyone is our potential prospect, everyone probably knows someone who is. That's the power of networking and really casting that net wide and helping take our business to the next level while serving people. We want to ultimately be that sales person, if you will, that when we're walking down the hall, someone says, "Oh, there's Dr. Rome. I'm excited to see him. He's here to talk about whatever today," instead of that person that says, "Oh gosh, run in and grab the phone." I'm
Hi.
busy. Yeah, I'm busy. Hide. you know that's the difference. When we truly approach selling from the standpoint that we are there to help the person that we are trying to connect with and to ultimately sell, then we become a trusted advocate
Mm.
and they know that we're there for them. It's the reason in selling we teach converting. I actually used to keep a swear jar. I beat the word closing out of my sales reps. You put a dollar in. If you ever use that nasty word closing, there should be 4 letters in that word. We would make you put a dollar in the swear jar. I said, listen, when you're closing, people get very closed off. Why is that? Because it's kind of like, well, I'm looking at them like the big game. Oh, you mean like the deer head on the wall? How did that work out for the deer? When your prospect sees you approaching them with the look of a hunter looking down a scope, they know you're out to get them. That is selling, or that is closing in the traditional sense of the word. I know in sales for years, I am the one guy that just fights against that word in the sales industry because of the mindset that it creates, an us versus them mentality. Conversion is creating a customer. I heard it best years ago when someone said that if you make a sell, you can earn a commission, but if you make a customer, you can make a fortune. And that customer comes from someone understanding that you are there to truly collaborate, to work together. And as the old saying goes, you recognize that a rising tide lifts all ships and you grow together, and that is where people begin to see you as the salesperson that has their best interests at heart.
Wow. Wow. That's so well said. I think you were on a call recently where we had all of our master trainers, and we have one of our trainers who is like you in the sense that he really, really, really loves people, but he also has learned how to
Mhm.
sell. And one of the things he shared on that call, if you'll remember, he said, if you can learn to say to someone and really mean it, I'm comfortable with,
Hmm.
in whatever the
Mhm.
situation might be, I'm comfortable with you wanting to think about this. I'm comfortable with you wanting to talk to your wife about this. I'm comfortable with you wanting to look at other options at this, but I'm not comfortable with you living with this situation and not
Mhm.
correcting it, and the rest of your life having to deal with this over and over and over. First time I heard that, I thought, wow, he's not trying to make a sale, he's trying to make a friend. And
Right.
the
Mhm.
truth of the matter is, I believe people like someone once said this, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And the truth of the matter is, we tend to want to buy from people we like, from people we trust, and people we know. I'd drive across
Hmm.
town on rainy day and heavy traffic to do business with somebody I know, like, and trust. And so, well, one more time here before we close this out. Uh, I know that y'all do a lot of trainings, and
Hmm.
there's no two people on the planet I would more recommend for people to get connected to than the two of you, because y'all
Mhm.
walk your walk, talk your talk, and you have a great opportunity. Y'all have trained so many people, uh, not only in your company, but with the model of the DISC model of human behavior.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about what y'all have coming down the pike and how someone can get connected to you.
Sure. As far as the trainings, of course, we do host certification classes in association with Personality Insights. As you are well aware, if people want to get certified, that can ultimately work for someone from a business model
Mhm.
perspective that they're wanting to use that to be able to work and train their clients, or a lot of times where we will have internal corporate trainers that want to be able to get trained so that they can do it in-house. They don't have to hire an external trainer every time they need it. They have the ability to do it as often as they want. And, many times they'll come back and say, wow, getting a member or two, or heck, we have some companies that get all of their training
Right?
staff certified. And they say, really, over a year or two, it was cheaper than if we'd have been outsourcing it anyway. So we end up saving a lot of money. The ROI is tremendous in that aspect. But we do that. And then, of course, we focus on leadership development and sales team development as well. But really, people can find out more about that simply by connecting with us. They can reach us on our website, rollinsperformancegroup.com. They can connect with us same way through our company page on LinkedIn or our company page on Facebook.
Nice. We also, every week on our tip of the week, at the bottom of that, we have all the upcoming trainings, and we have all of your upcoming trainings listed as well. Well, y'all are a delightful couple. And the thing that makes my heart happiest is, with Chris and Melissa, what you see is what you get. And I
That's
think
true.
you're so right, Chris. Earlier, I heard someone say, when people see you coming, they either say, "Oh boy," or "Oh no." And y'all are both definitely oh boy kind of people. And I'm just really honored to be associated with y'all. You are executive master trainers with Personality Insights. You handle so much training and do such a great job. And we are proud of you. We love you. And we know that you're making a big difference in life. I don't know. I'll be 75 this year. I don't feel it, but some mornings I do. But waking up in the mornings and knowing that the message, not the messenger, but the message that lives inside of me can help other people. I know y'all feel that same way, don't you? Isn't that make an important
Mhm.
difference in your lives?
100%. Absolutely.
It's funny. I've been going through a lot of our previous trainings that we've done over the years, and I'm inputting them all into our computer system and just looking at some of the comments from our feedback forums and stuff. And you're just like, okay, well, we're actually doing something good here. Because sometimes you're human and you kind of question, am I really doing anything good here? So it's been really cool to see some of that. So
Nothing's better than making a difference in somebody's life for the better. Zig used to say, as this how long ago it was that 40 years ago I was working with him. Zig used to say there are 5 billion people on the planet. Of course, now
mhm.
they're closer to 9, but he said there are 5 billion people on the planet. 4.5 billion go to bed hungry for something to eat every night, but all
Mm.
5 billion go to bed hungry for somebody to love them. And so I know that
Mhm.
y'all love everybody and you do a great job. Want to ask you, maybe sometime down the road, would you be willing to do this again?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Y'all are bright stars in the Personality Insight family. Thank you for our
Mhm.
time. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see on the website at the bottom ways to get in touch with Chris and Melissa. Let me encourage you, they have upcoming trainings. You can do these with them, and it'll make a huge difference. 3 days with Melissa and Chris will change your life forever. And I've heard it over and over and over. What not only what great people they are, but what great trainers they are. So thank you again for being on the call today. I'm Dr. Robert Rome. We look forward to being with you on our next podcast when we either have another special guest or talk about another special topic. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye bye.
For more information about this podcast, please visit www.becomingwiserpodcast.com.